Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Monday, May 5th, 2025, and these are your unbiased updates. President Trump weighs in on the case of Kilmar Abrego-Garcia, what the president said about due process, the U.S. Supreme Court involvement, and who is handling the high-profile deportation case for the White House. Also, it has been closed since 1963 and at one time was viewed as the toughest prison in America. They even made a movie about escape attempts. Why the president wants to reopen Alcatraz.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's unbiased updates.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
President Donald Trump discussing whether everyone in the U.S. is entitled to due process as laid out in the 5th and 14th Amendments. He made the comment to NBC News anchor Kristen Welker Sunday on Meet the Press as they talked about the case of Kilmar Abrego-Garcia, the man whose supporters say was mistakenly deported to an El Salvador prison in March. The Trump administration in recent weeks is insisting he has ties to the MS-13 gang and committed domestic violence against his wife. Last month, a federal judge and the U.S. Supreme Court separately ordered the Trump administration to facilitate Abrego-Garcia's return to the U.S. Yet he still remains in a detention facility in El Salvador. His case has become a flashpoint of the Trump administration's mass deportation policy. President Trump says his administration is not defying the Supreme Court's ruling.
Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
President Trump said there's a possibility the Department of Justice will go back to the Supreme Court and ask the justices to clarify what they meant when ordering the administration to facilitate Abrego-Garcia's return. President Trump is hoping to reopen one of the nation's most high-profile maximum security prisons. The president is touting a plan to send inmates to Alcatraz in Northern California. In a lengthy post on his Truth Social, the president said, quote, "Rebuild and reopen Alcatraz. For too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be." The president went on to say he is directing the Bureau of Prisons, the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security to reopen, enlarge, and rebuild the prison to house America's most violent offenders. The three-story prison with 4 cell blocks was known as The Rock. It was initially built as a U.S. Army military prison in the early 1900s and later became perhaps the most famous maximum security prison in the country before closing in 1963. Attempts to escape from the prison also led to a popular movie. Early this morning in the Middle East, Israel's cabinet ministers approved a plan to capture all of the Gaza Strip and stay there for an unspecified amount of time, according to 2 Israeli officials. They said Israel's goal is to achieve its war aims of defeating Hamas and freeing hostages still held in Gaza. The plan also includes powerful strikes against Hamas targets, the officials said. The vote came just hours after the Israeli military chief said the army was calling up tens of thousands of reserve soldiers. The new plan would push hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to southern Gaza, potentially worsening a humanitarian crisis there. Since a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas collapsed in mid-March, Israel has repeatedly struck Gaza, killing hundreds. It now controls roughly half of the enclave. Before the truce ended, Israel halted all humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, which is 25 miles in length along the Mediterranean Sea, or the size of a major American city. As the saying goes, the show must go on, and it did. Pop star Lady Gaga performed a free concert that drew more than 2 million people to Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro on Saturday after Brazilian authorities say they foiled a bombing attack. Police say unidentified people were virtually recruiting participants to carry out the attacks using improvised explosive devices. They say the person behind the plot is in custody and a teenager has been detained in connection with the plan. Brazil's Ministry of Justice and Public Security said in a statement that the plot was organized by a larger extremist network that operates online to radicalize adolescents and provoke hate crimes. Authorities say they received a tip from Rio State Police Intelligence, which uncovered digital cells encouraging violent behavior among teenagers using coded language and extremist symbolism. Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket company is about to get quite a distinction in South Texas. Voters are deciding whether to make Starbase, located in Cameron County, its own city. Here's the catch. There are 283 eligible voters, and most are either employed by SpaceX or have some connection to the company. About 200 people have already cast their ballots early, with the in-person part of the election set for this Saturday. Musk actually voted in the 2024 presidential election in Cameron County, so this would be his home district. SpaceX is seeking to increase the number of launches done there from 5 to 25 a year, with the goal of someday sending a spacecraft to Mars. About the only controversy with making Starbase its own city is that when SpaceX launches, a local highway, a state park, and a beach have to close. The closure authority lies with the county, and some people who live there do not want to give the power to Starbase. It is only about 1.5 square miles, with a few roads and smaller ranch-style homes. Finally this morning, the puck drops on round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. The lineup is now set after the Winnipeg Jets rallied in double overtime to defeat the St. Louis Blues on Sunday night, winning in Game 7 in improbable fashion, scoring 2 goals late in regulation, then winning it in front of their home fans. Incredible comeback. Round 2 starts tonight with the Eastern Conference, the Toronto Maple Leafs hosting the Florida Panthers. Then the Capitals take on the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 of their second-round series in Washington on Tuesday night. The Western Conference second round also begins Tuesday with the Vegas Golden Knights hosting the Edmonton Oilers. The Jets will be back on the ice Wednesday for Game 1 against the Dallas Stars in Winnipeg. Went to bed last night. St. Louis was ahead of Winnipeg 3-1. Woke up and Winnipeg had won. Pretty much the same story the night before when Dallas came from behind to beat the Colorado Avalanche. I think you can tell that's all I did all weekend was watch hockey and, well, play a little hockey. Those are your unbiased updates for this Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.